Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Sarah. I'm here with Allie, of course, and I'm also joined, or we are also joined by a legend who I think doesn't need much of an introduction, Hedvig Lindahl. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I have to admit to everybody listening that we just slid into your DMs. Perhaps that's maybe not good to put out into the world because I don't want you to be bombarded with DMs now.
No, that's how we do business nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, we were both like egging each other on, being like, go on, ask her.
How have you enjoyed this World Cup so far?
I enjoy it. It's for the first time in my life that I can see it from this point of view, because I've been there the last 5 tournaments. Right now, it's a very rainy summer in Sweden, so it's perfect. You wake up in the morning, there will be a few games on, and I will watch as much as I can, but still be part of my kids' summer holidays. So it's trying to balance that one. It's not easy, but I am enjoying it very much.
What's the biggest difference, obviously, aside from being on the field versus being on the couch and not having to train every day? What's the biggest difference for you in this World Cup not being there?
Well, it's been a year now that I've been not part of the Swedish setup. I was there after 6 months. I was there once again when we went to the Algarve Cup. So I guess to kind of how do you say, like to get a little bit of a feel again, to take away the need slowly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you stop smoking, you take a few cigarettes less. No, I don't know how to say it in English, but
we understand through that metaphor. Yeah.
So I haven't been part of the setup for 1 year, basically. I felt after the Euro that maybe it's time for someone else to get a try now. It doesn't get better than this. I'm getting older. So with that in mind, I have a distance to it. It's interesting and it's okay. I think 100% just happy for all the success. I hope, should it be a golden game, I would still have that feeling. Obviously, it would be actually perfect in terms of my history. When I've left teams, have built something. Finally, I'm like, I'm frustrated. I can't take it further. Almost like I feel there are too many obstacles in this. Then I leave and something happens and they win. So yes, of course they're gonna win for that reason. I'm sorry, the American people here. If they win tomorrow, or if they win when you have heard this the game, then it's on me. I'm sorry.
So in general, how do you feel that Sweden are doing in this tournament? Because it was a slightly slow start in the first game, but then they've completely ramped it up in the last 2. So how are you feeling about the Sweden team this tournament?
Yes, the team got some critique from media after the first game. Playing against South Africa, we were down 1-0 after a Tembe Atlana counter setup thing. But we came back 1-1, and Amanda Ilestedt proved to be a real threat in set pieces, which we all knew, but now the whole world knows. And yes, after that, they weren't too happy, the media. But you have to kind of think about what kind of expectations do you have on the team. And this kind of World Cup is so open. So much has happened. Sweden has been affected by injuries. So has other teams. It's been a weird spring season for us. We've had 17 rounds in the Swedish league, which is unprecedented, I think. Which means it was such a long break between the last national team camp and the World Cup camp. And what does that do? All of these things considered, I think they did okay in the first game, and then they really had some flow moments in the second game against Italy, where we scored 3 goals, I think, in 6 minutes or something like that.
Yes.
Jonna Andersson combined with Amanda Ilestedt again on corners, and other good things happened in that game, and so on. And then we were able to rotate because we were qualified already in the second round, after the second round. And they also won the last game against Argentina. So with that in mind, I think they've done well. They've done more than what's expected almost. And now have given themselves a good opportunity to perform against the US team.
I think before we move, I want to stay on Sweden before we move on to previewing the US versus Sweden specifically. We've seen Sweden do well in the group stages of multiple big tournaments. I hesitate to say this bluntly because I don't want to hurt your heart, but it seems that then Sweden just continues to come up just a hair short every time of that elusive gold. What is that small, tiny missing piece that just needs to click?
Well, my take on it is we were so close to gold in the Olympics. We were in the finals. We were one penalty away from winning the gold there. We were flying in that tournament. Given that you already lost some huge competition in the qualifiers leading up to the Olympics, so it's not as many teams competing in the actual tournament. So going back to the World Cup 2019, where we won against Germany in a super tight game, where we also qualified for the Olympics, that's where I felt, wow, this is it. Now we're going for the gold in the Olympics. Came up against Canada, and we were, as you probably saw the game, we were supposed to win that game, I think, over 90 minutes, but we didn't, and it took it to penalties, and we didn't. And I felt like that was probably that's where we were supposed to shine. We didn't. And obviously, going in with a feeling of we need to right what's wrong in the Euros. We've also been talking about, when you talk about this missing piece, I think we had everything in that Olympics. It's maybe just down to bad luck in the end. I don't know, for not winning their penalties, but I think one thing that I've felt over the years is the mentality thing that's been so big in the US soil. Like, we are the best, we are winners, we can come out and be the favorites, and that's fine. We are happy with it. I think a lot of Swedes in history has not been happy with having that kind of attention, sticking out that much. If we compare to the men's side, Zlatan Ibrahimovic came and said, I'm like the best. And that was a very different from our culture. And he faced lots of scrutiny because of it. People loved it, people hated it. And I think that's, for me, it's been like, we need to be okay with thinking we're the favorites. And why this is interesting now leading into this World Cup is because that's what happened in the Euros. We were the favorites. We were supposed to win the Olympic gold. We didn't. They're going to take it in the Euros. Even our shirt sponsor came out with a campaign like how to beat Sweden. Like, we're going to own this narrative that we are the favorites, and we're going to be mentally okay with it. I don't think we were in the end. I think that was a step too much to have that pressure, that campaign. But I think now, going into this World Cup, it's not the pressure. The pressure is not on us anymore. But we've been there and we've touched on it. And maybe now we can believe it. And we've been in the close range of actually winning something. But now the public is not speaking of it as much. But after the group stage now people are starting to talk about it again. And how will we handle that? That's going to be interesting. And what I want to add to the Euros is not only that, we also got hit by COVID. We got injuries. We had so much leakage from the bucket, that we are prepared for problems on the way. But that was like getting some of our both right fullbacks hit by COVID, stuff like that. It's just that we didn't have that. We weren't capable of solving that. So now they don't have that either. No pressure, no COVID, and some other shit going down probably that we don't know of, or haven't heard of, but not enough to rock the ship, I think.
Just quickly, when it goes down to penalties, do you as a goalkeeper get really annoyed because you're like, what? You're leaving it to me now? You couldn't have done it in the 90.
No, I loved penalty shootouts. That was my parallel story has been that when I was a kid, I was in some youth setups, and we, for example, we played the Gothia Cup. If you know about that one, it's a huge youth cup tournament we have in Gothenburg. and we weren't the greatest team, but we played 0-0 against, for example, US teams, took it to penalties, and we won. I saved some, and I scored at one. But then I kind of lost that along the way. So for a while I felt frustrated, couldn't perform in penalties. But something happened along the way, and towards the end of my career, I loved penalties again. So coming into penalties, shootouts, I would be like, yes, this is it. I know I can make a few saves, and just be confident. And we had some good examples of when that really flew. For example, in my club teams, Atletico Madrid, when we won against Barcelona in the Supercopa 2021, it was just down to confidence. Celebrate like this, and I saw them do the same thing against who was it against? Against Real Madrid now when they won. Atletico won. I saw the same thing that I said in the ring. Mariel van Dongen did the same, like celebrate with the. I'm not gonna tell you. But it's so. No, I've always been super excited for in the last few years of my career for penalties shootouts. So, but in that game against Canada, we could have done it over 90, I think. But yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but that's how I feel.
No, you did. I mean, we covered the Olympics, we covered the Euros and the Olympics. We were talking the whole time about how great you all looked through the entire tournament, and I couldn't agree more. You were the better side in that game, and that was kind of the end of the story, but disappointing. So we have to talk about the USA versus Sweden rivalry, because that game is coming up. It's either tomorrow or in 2 days, depending on where in the world you are and when you're listening to this. And you, of course, are a massive part of that storied rivalry. And you talk about the mentality of Sweden and the mentality of the USA. I'm wondering there's so much to talk about here, but I guess just to kick it off, it does feel that Sweden, despite maybe even where you were in the tournament, how the team was playing, is able to play the US very strongly and very well every single time. Would you agree? And if so, why do you think that is?
Well, my history goes back many years, and it's not been every single time in my history. But I felt something happened there in the 2016 Olympics when we faced each other in the quarterfinals, and we had Pia as a coach. She had just been in the US. That's also that we should do a separate almost episode about that story, but
I don't want to do that.
As a neutral, I do. But...
I knew you were going to talk about this moment. I talk about this moment a lot, just as a fan, because it was a big moment in the world of women's soccer. It was a big moment, I'm sure, in Sweden, and it was a big moment in the US. So I'm very interested to hear you talk about it. Yeah, because
what was interesting, and I'm just gonna come into that story just a little bit, was that we played against China in the last group stage. No one wanted to win that game because we both would get like kind of advantages by a draw. It was so weird. And we played in Brasilia, which would be the stadium that we would face the US in. We found out after the game. So Pia said, we're gonna play the US, and we would celebrate, and I would be saying, that's great, like fantastic, because we wanted to stay in Brasilia. We wanted to make history by being the first team that could ever make the US go out in the quarterfinals. So and we managed to do it, and it was tough. It was over 120 minutes and penalties as well. It was not by our own quality per se. It was fighting, counterattack, and then penalties. But I think what happened then was we really realizing it's possible to beat the US. Kind of like 2019, we we were able to beat Germany also in the quarterfinals, I think it was. And it's a mental victory more than anything else. But I think that in combination with the world of women's football changing, making it harder for the US to live up to these high expectations, because the investments that's going on in the world is unprecedented, and people want to come to Europe to play the Champions League and get to be coached by the European coaches with the huge history on the men's side and whatever. it's going to be hard for the US to keep up with, not to keep up, but to keep the gap. Mm-hmm. The gap is just going to close and close and close and close. So when we played each other in the 2019 World Cup, was it? We lost 2-0, but we felt, because we were rotating a lot of people against the US team in the group stages of the 2019. And we felt, wow, we can outsmart them tactically and technically. We can play between their lines. We don't have to be as scared about their physicality. Wait, you won in the end. But we felt, wow, that was different. And then in the Olympics, we won 3-0. And again, it was on the same trajectory. We can tactically outsmart them. We can technically outplay them. And this can change from group to group to group, like group of players. Sometimes you are more successful and sometimes you're less successful, or you have a good or a bad day, whatever. But if we should see the pattern, that's where it's going. I feel that it's going to be harder for the US to find to just do the physicality against a very smart tactical team and technically good team.
I was at that 2019 World Cup game. That was like my big one, because I love the US Sweden rivalry, because it's such a juxtaposition between the two kinds of teams. What is it like to play in that rivalry? Like, do you feel that immenseness, or is it just another match?
I don't think I've painted it out to be such a big rivalry. I'm sitting here in a Sweden jersey when we speak, just because it's fun. But like,
is it yours? Is your name on the back, or is it a blank one?
It says football forever on the back.
Okay.
It was part of the game. No, I've never been like you are attached to West Ham. I've never been for one team. Maybe the national team is my team, I guess, because that's the longest relationship I've had. So I've never really. When I came to Chelsea, for example, it was a huge rivalry with Manchester City, and I didn't really buy into it. For me, it's always just another game. But yes, if you look at the pattern, and you guys who have seen it from the outside, you can maybe more piece together the pattern always. But for me, it's always just, it's fun to play against the US. It's a great team. As a player, you want to play against the best because you want to be the best. If you want to become, always wanted to be the world's best goalkeeper. Well, you have to play the best. I loved playing against Abby Wambach when I was younger. It was a huge challenge. I would lose most of the games, but sometimes I would win an aerial duel. I would come out for a corner and take it, or for a cross, take it. And if you could do that ahead of Abby Wambach, that would mean you are probably one of the world's best goalkeepers. So for me, it's always been just that. And I think you have to balance this rivalry and hate, whatever. I hate that hate comes into the game. I don't like it. But if you can get lifted by the rivalry, because you will be nothing unless you have a rival. You need to feed off a rival. You need to be thankful that you have an opponent that's gonna challenge you. You should be thankful that someone can beat you, because you can be better than. I would hate almost. God, I use hate a lot. I wouldn't like playing so much in a team that's always winning. I think that's, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. It's the competition. Competition is fun, and anybody that loves being competitive wants to play against the best, and that's what's fun about it, is the challenge, and it elevates everybody, and that's fun. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. We have to talk tactics here. I'll start with US Sweden. I think Sweden, by almost everybody's standards, have looked better than the US so far in this tournament. Coming into this game, I guess let's start from Sweden's perspective. What have you seen in the US that you think Sweden can or should exploit? And then I definitely want to ask conversely, and I understand if you don't want to give up the details on what the US can exploit from Sweden, but I would love to know what you think of, tactically, where each team is probably going to look to exploit the other.
I heard the assistant coach speaking, and he said they want to quickly come into a space where they can attack the back line, because there they've looked very shaky, maybe. So I guess coming into that space in front of the back line in different various ways. He also mentioned that the high press will be one of the key aspects. It has always been, as long as we've had these coaches. If they can manage to find a solution to and that's I guess what we've seen in the group stage. It hasn't been too impressive from the American team, that they haven't really been able to combine in midfield. It's been very. My feeling was that they maybe felt almost scared to get on the ball, because it wasn't so many options. I must say I haven't seen the tactical analysis after all the group games of the American team, but what I saw was, wow, this isn't. I think Crystal Dunn was on the ball most of the time, and there was no one to combine with close to her, and so that would be a good match then for us with our high press to isolate someone like Crystal Dunn or someone on that side on the ball. I think what we don't want maybe is to give away too much time for someone to like expose us in behind, because I guess that would be the biggest threat that I see for the US team to counterattack on us. So it's always a balance. How high press can you have, and do you risk, kind of like we won in the 2016, that was just a long ball to Stina Blackstenius and a goal. And it can be that easy in football. So the more you step forward, the more space you leave behind. So I think what's been very, very, very good for us in this tournament has been the set pieces, and I expect that to be much harder against the US team. Obviously now everyone knows Amanda Ilestedt is a real threat, so maybe you would put Lindsay Oran on her, but then maybe we'll be opening up spaces for someone else somewhere. I don't know, but what worked so far probably won't work against the US team in the set pieces. So for me it's like, should you really go high pressing and give the space in behind for Sophia Smith that's really fast, for example, or Alex Morgan to run into, or should you not? But I think that's the high press has been the huge DNA in this Swedish team for so many years. I would be surprised if they change it. What about you guys from the US perspective?
I mean, from the US, in terms of what Sweden can exploit from the US?
Whatever you like, whatever. I mean, how do we see it play out?
Yeah, I completely agree with what you said. I remember mentioning, I think a couple weeks ago, or however many days it was ago, against the Portugal. It's been a long day. Yeah, I mean, our back line got split a lot, and I think that space in front of the back line where Julie Ertz used to sit, we've known for a long time. I think anybody who's watched the US has known that is the kind of the weak spot on the team. And so I fully expect any team that plays the US to try to exploit that space right in front of the back line, and then look for those through balls to split the back line with somebody coming in from the side. And I think Sweden is really primed to do that. I would expect that to be, frankly, what Sweden does. And I think a key piece is also mentally. We saw how Portugal was able to just come out on the front foot. And like you said, the US really looked like they didn't know what to do with the ball because nobody was moving off the ball. There were no options. And if I saw that in a team that I was about to play, I would come out on the front foot and I would try to put a goal away early and take control of the game. And that's what I expect Sweden to do. What do you think,
Allie? Sorry, yeah.
No, I want to know what you have to say, Hedvig. Allie can go next.
She don't care about me. It's fine.
No, you go ahead. I need to think this through. So go ahead.
The big thing that Sweden's going to exploit is there's no Rose Lavelle. Rose Lavelle is the bright spark of the US team at the moment, and because she's on 2 yellows, she can't play this game. So I think that's going to be huge in the midfield for the two teams, because your midfield is shaky at best, and if you don't have Rose Lavelle.
But who would they, if they would move Julie Ertz up in midfield, who would they put into the central back position?
That's the big question. I think it would be Alana Cook, because Naomi Grima and Alana Cook have played together quite a bit as center backs. I don't think you can pull like an Emily Sonnet into the center back because they haven't played together. So I think it would be Alana Cook and Naomi Girma. And I think that's the big question that Vlatko Andonovski has to answer right now, which is, is it worth it to push Julie Ertz up and try to hold the middle of the field, or do we need her in the back line? And I think we got our answer in the Portugal game, which I thought was screaming for Julie Ertz in the middle of the field. I'd have anybody in the center back if Julie Ertz is sitting in the 6 up right above them, because she's that strong. So I certainly hope to see her there. And hopefully Alana Cook feels comfortable enough in that center back position paired with Naomi Girma. But Alana Cook's been shaky as well. So there's not a glaringly clear option.
No, I don't know. I haven't followed Julie Ertz in the league, and so I don't know her current form. But historically, she's been great in that 6 position. So I don't understand why she wouldn't. But I guess you know better. Follow the team much closer than I do.
No, I would. I'm agreeing with you. I'd like her in that number 6 position. I do understand why Vlatko Andonovski pulled her back into the center back to begin with, because losing Becky Sauerbrunn at such a late date was just so heartbreaking for the team. And I think he didn't necessarily trust 2 very young center backs together in Alana Cook and Naomi Girma, and he wanted that veteran presence in the back line. So I understand why he did it to begin with. But I think that you have to be able to change as the tournament progresses. And I think now is a moment to push Julie Ertz up into that holding mid. Absolutely.
And also, what does it signal if you have center backs that play day in, day out as a center back, but then you pull down a midfielder because I'm not trusted all of a sudden, but I'm in the squad. What I wanted to add earlier was that even a team that might not have the best options, players available, or tactics, or what have you. I don't know about the US team, how good of a coach he is, and all of these things. But even though it's challenges along the way, it's still possible to win a game. You can, and that's the thing. That's where the American mentality comes in. If they just decide, and also on the back of Carly Lloyd's critique, and probably more people running in on her critique, like, come on, where's the winning mentality? Why are you smiling and dancing after a draw against Portugal, where the post is the best player according to her? I could very well imagine that Lindsay or someone else who's listening a little bit to this and like maybe agreeing to it. I'm not sure. I don't know Lindsay, how she is and whatever. Or Kelly O'Hara is it? Is
yes.
Part of the, she maybe takes that in or whatever. Something could very well spark in that dressing room. I think just like, okay, let's sit low. Let's just keep the ship tight and let's counterattack. And when we have a chance, we go for it. Because that's the thing, when you used to play against the US team, standing in the in what is it called, when you were supposed to go side by side in the tunnel, yes, there in that space the US won the game so many times. Just the chest out, it's like, let's go girls, and like, US, what, it's so much not like as an opponent facing that energy and just bouncing it back, like, and we are also here to claim our space. So if the US is able to, I don't know, fake it till you make it, or like do that, things can happen. But given everything that we've talked about, it looks like Sweden has the more stable setup, the more harmony in the group, more of their players available, the system, the strategies. If not the mental ghost kicks in against the Swedes, I think we have a huge opportunity to win this game, actually.
I'm curious because I love what you mentioned about the tunnel. And I've heard that before about historically teams who've faced the US. And I'm curious if we flash back to the Olympics, the US were criticized in the Olympics for very similar reasons as they're being criticized right now in terms of their mentality and people saying it wasn't there. What did you see in the Olympics? And did you feel that same kind of like intimidation from them during the Olympics, or did you sense a shift in 2021?
Okay, I can't really recall actually when we're stood there and going out, but I can imagine. I had played at least one season with Crystal Dunn in Chelsea, for example, and the more Americans coming into playing in the European leagues and like showing they're just normal girls who's not that amazing, maybe
that was their detriment, huh?
No, yeah, I think so, honestly, because sometimes back in the days you saw this, because you have to imagine also the US has always been such an inspiration for the rest of the world of taking the fights for equality, for more visibility. You're always very good at marketing the game. We were always looking at you like, I look at the US team, they have a Twitter account and they do all these videos. We don't even have a Twitter account. Come on, like it's been and it's not like you did it 1 month ago and we did it the month after. It's like we are 10 years after, like the world in general, if I generalize. So for us playing against the US, it was Hope, it was Abby, and before that it was those that played against Mia Hamm, and all of these, it's been these huge stars, and then you meet them in the tunnel, it's like, oh, that's her, I've seen her on thing called Instagram, what's that, but you don't that's not intimidating anymore. You don't have that as much. You're still stars, but we have stars in Sweden now as well. It's all of this image has been one of the biggest reasons why the US has been so impressively good and why they won the game in the tunnel. You don't have that anymore. And so now you have to win the game on the out because you're more skilled. And now the technical ability of the South American teams, my God, like look at what she did, Linda Caicedo. That's high skilled technical ability to against two Germans. Like they are highly trained tactically, technically, everything. She dribbles them and places the goal in the far post. That's wow. And she's 18. I mean,
yeah, that goal replays in my brain about 10 times a day. It's gorgeous.
I know.
Yeah,
it's gorgeous. She just waits for them to pressure her, moves the ball and plays it. It's such high quality, and she changes speed in the technical with her technique. And this is what's happening. This is why the US is not dominant anymore, is in my opinion. And you can still have good years and bad years, and sometimes US will win it and sometimes Sweden might win it, or England or whoever, depending on if you get all the
not
stars
England.
aligned.
Oh,
I have that year. Yeah.
I'm just giving Allie a hard time.
Yes, being mean. We will move on from the tunnel, but I just have to ask, because you would line up with her. Is Hope Solo as scary in the tunnel as she appears on TV? Because she's so stony faced when you see it and like, game on.
I think I thought was scary about Hope was that she was so unavailable. I'm way more like trying to. If I didn't know Hope, we'd never played together. Obviously, we're goalkeepers, and we wouldn't be on the same team or whatever. But I would more look for contact. I think, try to have good luck or say hi. Maybe I didn't want to say good luck just in the tongue, but especially if you know someone, you try to be nice and whatever. She was probably like that with someone she knew, but she always looked so unavailable, so not interested. And I had an experience, I think it was after we won against you 2011 in the group stages. I guess that's where we first won against you, when Lisa Dahlqvist had her first penalty encounter with Hope. Oh my God, I think you guys watched it back in 2011. Were you watching it? Or
I was watching. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't there in person, but I was watching.
Do you remember, because I can't really remember this, but did she actually take a walk from the goal out to the corner flag and back?
I don't know if it was all the way to the corner flag, but yeah, she was pulling all of the stops out, Hope Solo, in that moment. Yeah. She was pulling it all out. She was walking away. I think she walked up to the ball, I think she was everywhere. Yeah.
Oh my God. It would be so interesting to see Hope with these rules that we have now. Contain. But no, but like that was also a big game for us actually, when we won against the US team in the group stages, and Lisa scored the penalty after Hope doing all these things. She didn't know that Lisa loved this. She was the biggest competitor on our team, you know, having playing football, tennis, and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know, like don't piss off Lisa Dahlqvist, because that, you know, she would fit right in the US team perfectly. So when Hope did this both in 2011 and then 2016, she just loved it. She just grew in confidence. And, yeah, you come at me. You just do this. When she did her gloves and all these things, like which I understand. She wanted to win so much, Hope, so she did try everything she could. But Lisa loved it more, you know. So I love that. I don't know. That was a parenthesis, but you got some history here on this show as well.
Yeah, we love it.
Yes. And I've been driving a question in Sweden, actually, if we just want to touch on that now, since we're speaking.
Yeah, please.
I think we can also again be inspired by the US and England here, how the supporter culture is growing in the women's game, and how in the US it's very, very common to you just a supporter. You're just there to really cheer on your, you know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I spoke to an American the other day here in the Pride event that was in Sweden the other day, like the kickoff of it, and I met 2 American women actually, and one of them said that in the US we it's unheard of, this, you know, hate between. We don't have that, she said. We just go to support. We're out there. What is it called? Something you sit with your, you know, you have barbecues by your car.
Tailgate.
It's tailgate. Yeah
Like these things, it's just, that's the culture. You're just happy, support, you know. You just support, you know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but and here we have this fine. In Sweden we have a huge thing that it's great to go in the men's game in the highest league. It's so much energy, and it's better than those that are very positive towards the supporter culture say that's why we go. It's not because of the game. It's the game itself isn't really great. It's like 20 plus something ranked in the world, you know. It's not that's not why we go. It's because of the tifo, the pyrotechnique that's illegal in Sweden, but they still do it, and that's why we want to go. That's like it's the community. It's everyone is involved. So it's a lot of positives to take from it, but it's also very close to being something bad, because it's about stealing a flag from a rival group that, you know, they call. I'm new to this. And I think you have it in England too. You used to have more problems with it in England. If you say in Sweden, like England did, it's like an offensive. You can't, like, you don't ever do like England. They kill the supporter culture, and I think this is important when the women's game grows. That we see that the women's game could attract some of the classical men's football fans, but it could also attract a lot of people that didn't find their way into the game through the men's game. So my message has always been like, let's keep the women's football values as intact as we can as the game grows. Let's not just put bums on seats at any cost at all. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Allie and I talk about this all the time, don't we?
Yeah.
Especially because I mean you can speak to it probably better, Allie, because you experience the men's environment and atmosphere in England, and how different that can be from the women's game. And like, how do we protect the environment and the atmosphere of the women's game as it grows, and maybe it does bring more people in who've come from the men's side? How do we protect that still?
Yeah. I agree with all of it, except for you will never let me like Chelsea, because I'm a West Ham fan, so I can't like Chelsea or Tottenham.
But not in a mean way. You're not going to be mean at a game. Yeah.
No, I'm not going to be mean at a game.
Yeah.
But would you say that you hate them? Would you say, like, would you go out on Twitter and say, I hate Chelsea?
No, I would never do that, like, rivalry. But when West Ham are playing Chelsea for 90 minutes, I hate you. And then...
But do you chant, hate Chelsea, let's hate Chelsea? Do you chant?
No, because we don't do that at the women. We police that a lot, because especially for the London rivalries, we do get a lot of men's fans coming in using the men's chants, and we are very like, no, we don't do that here. Like, we've had ex-players come and we still give them love and support and stuff like that. But for the 90 minutes, I don't want you to score, I don't want you to win, and I get very angry at you when you do. So
no, and that's what we kicked off with. We need a rival to thrive. So, and of course, it, I don't know, it's just that thin border we can't step over to where it becomes bad. So I'm glad to hear that you're able to police it however you do it. I think England, everyone is looking at England right now, what's happening there, because I was listening to the Arsenal CEO, how they do it, because they've all been raised as a very positive example. And he said, we're learning, because we've been lucky enough on the men's side to just always sell out. We haven't really learned about our crowd. Now that we're putting the games on the bigger arenas for the women's game, we're actually trying to survey the audience and learning, who are you and why are you coming, and what do you like, and all of these things. So even these big classical men's clubs didn't know about their audience before, because they didn't have to, but now they are learning. So it's all a big experiment, and I hope that we are trying to push it towards these good forces should be the ones who take precedence.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. It does feel that we're kind of at a bit of like an inflection point in the women's game, and we have to be very careful as more money comes in to protect that type of environment that you're talking about, and not allow it to become toxic and hateful,
Yeah. Well, that's something else. I don't expect us to see that. You're in Australia or New Zealand, Australia, I guess, Melbourne. Have you been to some of the games?
I actually got in yesterday, which is why I can't talk very well, because I haven't had a lot of sleep. So I'm just in Sydney. I haven't been to any games, but I'm going to the Netherlands tomorrow before the US game.
It's so interesting to hear your point of view later on in another episode, like when you've experienced the atmosphere and how it's been, and if you see.
I'm very excited because I was in France 4 years ago, so I'd also love to see how it's changed in those 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
I guess you'll have to listen to the next episode, and you'll find out.
Yes. You reeled me in now.
Yeah, now we have.
Very quickly before we end, predictions for the US-Sweden game. What you go in? What's your score line?
Predictions. I think it will go to extra time, overtime. It will be 120 minutes. It will could be penalties, but maybe not. And I think we will win with one goal more, maybe 2-1 to Sweden.
All right, I love it. Thank you so much, Hedvig. We so appreciate, and we'll check in with you on Twitter after the game. We'll just send you a DM and see if that prediction was right.
Yes. Okay.
And I will congratulate you if it's Sweden.
Yes, may the best team win, and big thumbs up for rivalry, big thumbs down for hate.
Thank you so much.